Good evening and welcome to the June 15th, 2009 Lowell Planning Board meeting. Tonight we have one public hearing and a pre-application session. The first matter for the public hearing will be 1141 Bridge Street. This is a request to amend a site plan approval. A public hearing will be held to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Ming and Lang Li Hung to amend a previously approved site plan for the project located at the above address. The applicant seeks an amendment of the approved site plan to reflect proposed changes, to include a reduction in usable space for the proposed commercial building from 1.5 stories to a single story, increasing the building footprint while reducing the total building square footage to 5,000 square feet, and reducing the total number of parking spaces from 22 to 18 spaces. The 16,826 square foot parcel is located in the traditional mixed-use zone district and requires a site plan review under section 11.4 of the zoning code. May we hear the case for the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, before we begin, for the record, I'll be recusing myself from the discussion and vote on this matter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Claremont.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, James Flood, an attorney with offices at 549 Roger Street, Lowell, representing Mr. and Mrs. Ung. With me tonight also is the project architect, Jim Jazokis, and the project engineer, Hushman Afshar of Holmberg and Howe. I think the notice tells us what we're here for. There was a miscommunication on the original plan, and Mr. Ung always intended to have a one-story building. As the previous approval in January provided, they are going to demolish the existing building on the site and construct a commercial building containing 5 commercial units. As the notice also stated, the prior plan had a building of approximately 6,600 square feet, and this is reducing the size to 5,354 feet. The footprint does increase because in order to, we have to push the building out and we lose the parking spaces that were located in the front. There are 18 parking spaces for this building that are sufficient and it conforms to zoning. Now, I think at this point you might want to hear from the architect and the engineer, and then we can go over the suggestions. I think we have no problem with most of them. I don't know, do you want to do it now or do you want to wait?
If you want to address them now, it might clear up some of the issues that myself and some of the board members have. Just so all parties know is, when this plan came into us, like all plans, the matters go out to all the city departments for comment, and we do receive those comments back. We did receive a couple back, which the engineer department had no problem with, and Division of Planning and Development, they did have a list of 9 matters that they wanted the board to consider. So if Attorney Flood, if you don't mind addressing some of those now, and then if you want anybody who's with you tonight to address them on the plan as they show how they've been changed or whatever's more comfortable for you is fine with me.
Well, we can go through them, and then we can let them address the board, and then we can answer any questions. The first one had to do with the design of the doorway facing out to Bridge Street. We would really like to leave it the way it is. We feel it architecturally is better for the building, and we feel it looks better that way, instead of changing it to the way they are on the, facing the parking lot. The second one, we like to also retain the dormers because architecturally we think it looks better. The third one, we will make a change to the plan to show the caliber of the trees. I think most of them are over 2 inches. They were on the prior plan. I think it was they just forgot to put it on this plan. We will conform the other trees within the parking area in accordance with 6.19. We'll be glad to work with the DPD staff to reach that goal. The island west of the, we're going to extend it out as number 6 recommends extend the curbing out, and that will leave us room within that island for both the trees and the hydrant. The hydrant was there in the prior plan. We'd like to leave it there, but we will extend it out as suggested by Aaron. 7, we will work with DPD to provide appropriate landscaping for the front of that building. And as the signage, we don't know what the sign's going to be at this time, so we'd rather wait till a later date to, we don't know how many tenants are going to be, we don't know what it's going to look like, but, I mean, we'd have to, if it was going to be internally illuminated, we'd have to come back into the planning board, to the Board of Appeals. So we'd like to leave that one to a later date. And the dumpster pad, we will have a chain link fence around the dumpster with slats, so it wouldn't be visible, and we'd be glad to do anything else that you would recommend. But most of those we agree to, but the architectural issues we'd like to keep the way they're presently planned. You want to speak, Jim?
Good evening. Jim Drzokis, project architect with Paul Davies and Associate Architects. What we're seeing right now is what was approved prior, and I just want to point out just a couple of quick elements that were altered to conform to the client's needs and wants. The length of the building was shortened from 120 to 116. The depth of the building was deepened by, I believe, 4 feet from 43 to 47. The element on the parking lot side facing Demoulas, the second-story shed dormer, we eliminated, and we just show a straight roof. And the I believe that's all the elements we changed as far as design goes. And let me just flip it over for a second here. As you can see, there's very little change. The dormers on the roof system, we'd like to remain there. It would feel like a giant roof. I mean, we're talking almost 120 feet long, and it would just be all roof. We'd rather break that up with the false dormers up top. And as far as the door facing Bridge Street, right there is a small element, but I believe the intent of this particular zone is the transition between an RR to a residential. I believe it's a TMU. We have residential homes on one side, and we have a $15 million development just about to break ground on the other side, which is now just a giant plaza. And I think this would be a nice ease of transition and keeping that what Aaron would describe as a residential feel. We'd like to just keep it that way as opposed to a stark glass storefront that we have proposed for the interior portion. So other than that, there's been no changes to the architectural. I'd like to now turn it over to Hushi so he can explain some of the alterations to the site.
Okay.
Good evening. Hushman Afshar from Homburg and Howe. We are the engineers on the project. Comment number 3 is about the caliper of the deciduous trees. We, on C2, we added a note to that effect, that the deciduous trees have to be minimum 2-inch caliper at the time of planting, as requested. We also showed it on the site plan itself, where they need to be planted. Comment number 4, we added actually 4 trees you had asked for 2 or 3. We added 4 trees along the southerly property line. It's shown on the plan right now. We already made that change to the plan. Number 5, with extension of that island to the east of parking space number 8, the hydrant is located at the very nose of the island. And the deciduous tree can be quite a few feet behind it. So we can accommodate both of them easily on that island now without any problem. It's physically possible, and the plan, we made that revision to the plan. I already talked about number 6. It's shown in the plan. It has been revised. The island has been extended to the exact length of the parking stall, which is 18 feet. I think it was the pathway. Number 7, the pathway issue was already discussed. I guess those issues can be worked out. I don't think there will be any objection to whatever is required in the front, to the pathway material and the landscaping on both sides of the pathway to the front store, facing the street. The signage, Mr. Flood did discuss the signage issue. And dumpster issue also, we already addressed it on this plan. It's going to be enclosed chain link fence, 6 feet high, covered with green vinyl coating and screen cover. You just thought 8 feet high will be too ugly.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Sir, does this plan represent the new layout that you have in front of us here?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Did we get a copy of that, the new layout?
I don't think you have that yet.
So this is the first time we're seeing this
Yes, we
layout.
just got the comments.
I think this, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the plan that you have on the easel got more information than what you have in front of you, because the plan on the easel is addressing some of the comments that I made, is that correct?
That is correct.
Right, so you don't have this plan in front of you. You have the plan that represents the general update to the approved site plan.
Correct.
But this one on the easel includes things like additional landscaping, the change of the island to the length of the parking aisle, and other items. So it's not exactly the same what's on in front of you.
Okay.
Your DPD comments have been addressed on this plan.
So do we have a plan, have we seen a plan that shows the new proposed parking? I don't recall seeing that.
Yes, that was submitted to you last time. The parking has
You
not
showed us the
changed.
old one and told us how you were going to change it, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so I think when you were here last time, when we decided it was a substantial change, I know I personally hoped that we'd see a new plan that showed the parking flow and maybe some architectural views of what the new building was going to look like, because what we're looking at here is a huge, multi-million-dollar development there, and we felt like this parcel was really important to it. So I was a little disappointed not to see a new plan with this. All I got was the comments from DPD.
Steve, if I can clarify a little bit more, the plan that you have actually shows the new circulation for the parking lot and the new number of parking spaces. The elevation should also, that was in your package, should also show the changes to the building architecture. The only difference between the plan and what's up on the, yeah, come on, go ahead. The only difference should be just some trees, and so this is the,
You want him to explain the difference in the parking fee?
Sure, I have no problem. Yeah.
You want to explain the
Sure, let me
difference
explain
in
why
the
he's up
parking?
there.
How you changed the parking, you took those spots away in the front.
Excuse me, sir, could you just try to speak into one of those microphones so people watching at home can listen to you? The one in front of you, if you could just hit the green light, that way Do you see the light there?
Yeah?
Okay, just hold that up, so that way so people watching at home, they can hear what you're saying. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Okay, thank you.
This plan here is, as far as the parking layout is concerned, the same as what was submitted to you last month.
Would you explain to them how it's different from the original?
So the only difference is the three parallel parking spaces here on the southerly side of the parking lot, they have been eliminated.
So I think the question is basically, you went from 22 spaces to 18, right?
Total, right.
Okay, so you eliminated, could you just show on the plan, I think I know where they are, but just for everybody else, the 4 that you eliminated?
Correct. Here.
Those are, right? Those are the ones that you would have had to back up into? Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Parallel parking.
Right.
There are 3 parking.
Mr. Jenny, do you have any more questions for him?
No,
tonight?
that's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else you'd like to add?
I think this is a better plan.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there anybody else with you, Attorney Flood, who's representing the applicant who'd like to speak before I open it up further to the public?
There's no one with us, no.
Okay, all
I
right.
think we presented.
Okay. At this point in time, does anybody here like to speak in favor of this amended plan? Anyone in favor? In favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone here in opposition? In opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Any of the planning board members have any questions at this time? If not, maybe Aaron, do you have any comments further upon the comments that you made compared to the new set of plans that they've altered since you've made those comments? Anything you'd like to address for our consideration?
Sure, no, there isn't a whole lot that's new. The only thing I would comment on is with respect to the architecture. For the front door that's facing on Bridge Street, it is a transition neighborhood, and one of our, zone, and one of our concerns about this project itself is that you are going from a major regional retail, large-scale commercial project that's auto-oriented, set back from the street, to a residential neighborhood or a row of houses, as Jim had pointed out, Jizokis, and that the scale and the detail of the architecture should be oriented toward the street, should be up towards the street to provide a pedestrian, a more inviting environment for the pedestrian. And one of the ways to do that is, of course, have the door on the street so people know where to go if you're walking. The other piece to that is I can appreciate having a residential front so that it kind of matches to some degree the existing buildings that are on Bridge Street south of this project. But if you have something that reads as a residential front to the pedestrian, they're less likely to understand that that's actually a front door to a commercial business, and will be then more likely to go up along the side. It's a small detail. I happen to disagree that glass is stark, that actually having more transparency on the street will provide a little bit more activity for the pedestrian, something to actually look at. Whereas if it looks like someone's house, they're less likely to actually look through the windows and see what's behind it. So my reasoning for pointing out that it may be a better choice, this gets a little subjective, of course, but it may be a better choice to go with a front that matches what's fronting on the parking, where you have a larger mass or area that is glass for transparency into the building. The door that is glass, again, more transparency, and reads to the pedestrian as a commercial use rather than residential use. And again, is more inviting, provides more active street front. So that was really what that comment was trying to address. I still think you achieved that transition from an auto-oriented development to more residential scale by having the glass up front. I don't think it impacts the neighbors too much, and I think it actually kind of tells someone walking by without signage what's there. So I think there's a value to that, both aesthetically and in terms of wayfinding. So that's what that comment is addressing. Not in a position where I really feel like it needs to change, but I thought it was worth a discussion.
No,
Thinking about what's trying to be achieved with this building.
I think when you said it's subjective, it's true. In their mind, the door that they have is better for the building, so it's, it's either or, I suppose.
It's fine, it's just something that I thought was worth consideration and discussion on that.
Okay, Why I have you on that one, why don't we have you address number 2 that you mentioned, and they said they feel it's better the way it is with keeping the dormers, to cut down that big length of roof.
Yeah,
I mean, that's one idea that Jim mentioned, that instead of having all roof, it might break it up a little bit.
yes. Yeah, that one I even had less of an opinion on it, other than the fact that I generally think follow the idea of form follows function, that having kind of a false front isn't necessary. The one benefit that you do by losing those dormers is that you have a better opportunity, if you so choose, if your applicant so choose, to do a solar installation, a solar PV or thermal. It's a south-facing roof, and it is large expanse for sure. But if you did want to do something where you were able to put some solar panels up there, it would be a perfect installation for that. But I do completely understand the fact this is a long building. If it's all roof, it could get a little tedious, although nobody's really going to see that. But I can understand having some dormers there to break up that expanse.
Yeah. I think at the same point, if they took them out, it'd be cheaper construction-wise, but they want to keep them in because they feel it looks better that way, And if they were going to go solar at a later date, they could always remove them, so.
Anything else on comment there?
Nope, everything else seems fine. I think.
Thank you, I appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Any of the board members have any questions?
I have a couple.
Mr. Lockhart?
Just to make a comment on that entryway off of Bridge Street, what Aaron just spoke about, that is a very important element of the architecture here, because you're going from that commercial area into a residential area, so whatever you can do there to, to really transition that is important to consider.
Well, I think they felt if it was like in the front, an awful lot of glass on the side, Rich, and that's why they wanted to kind of keep it as simple.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's just an important consideration from a plan standpoint. Just a couple other things. Do you have any problem with using a monument-style signage here?
They haven't even thought about a sign at this point, Mr. Lockhart, because if they have a single user, the sign wouldn't be as big as if they had 5 users, so.
Okay,
They haven't even thought about that.
but you will obviously work with DPD on whatever you...
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I know what, I know what he's
A sign in
looking
the wrong
for.
place there can,
Yeah, he's looking,
as
looking
you know,
for like a monument sign like we did at CVS or something like that, yeah.
right.
Yeah, I mean, we'll work with them, but to be truthful, we don't know what's gonna be in there at this point in time.
Yeah, so once
Yeah.
it's occupied, then you
I mean,
really
I think you could make that a condition of approval that we work
Yeah,
with DPD.
Exactly. The only other thing is the dumpster, and excuse me if I didn't hear properly, but can you describe the proximity to the neighbors there and what you're gonna do to shield that from them?
The concern is the location of the dumpster close to the neighbor's property, what you're gonna do to screen it.
There are evergreens planted all the way, starting from here, where we have zone change, all the way along the northerly property line, along this easterly property line, and along this southerly property line, where we have again come across the zone change. So this will be all evergreen, and the details of evergreen, the height and everything is on sheet C6. The minimum height and everything. I think the minimum height is 6 feet tall.
Yeah. But the dumpster, where is the dumpster itself?
Right here.
And immediately surrounding that dumpster, what are you proposing?
It will be a chain link fence covered with straps and vinyl coating,
Okay,
enclosed with gate.
fine, thank you.
Hold on there.
Anything else, Mr. Lopez?
No, that's all I
Okay,
have.
Well, you're talking about the dumpster.
okay, sure, Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry. Mr.
go right
Chairman.
ahead, go right ahead, no
While
problem.
we're talking about the dumpster, would you, why wouldn't you consider pulling that dumpster down closer to the building in that little corner there at the back of the building? It seems like that might be a more secluded place out of the parking lot and screened by the trees to the neighbor's yard. Is that something you ever considered?
Well, for the traffic movement, basically,
Uh-huh.
the truck coming, picking up, hauling, lifting,
Oh,
putting
I
up.
need to pick up
Exactly, yeah.
the trash. I see. Okay, as long as it's going to be screened, I guess
Yeah.
that makes sense.
No, it's a screen fully, not only the unit itself, but also the evergreen behind it.
Right, okay. And the intent is for service and retail, is that correct?
Correct.
Service and retail, because as I think we mentioned last time, when you get into takeout or a restaurant, the parking becomes a real problem.
Yes, we have said very clearly on the plan that takeout and restaurant, those kind of uses, nil, zero.
Mhm.
So we are kind of making a commitment on the plan itself that those are not the kind of uses that are going to be.
Right, right. One other question on the door. It seems as though you have, and correct me if I'm wrong, on unit number 1, you have an entrance planned on the south side as well as on the, what would that be, west side?
On unit number 1?
Yeah.
Yes, you have a westerly entrance from the street, from the sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
as, I think as it was requested
Right.
earlier, and also an entrance from the parking lot itself,
I see.
yeah, subtly.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. It could be useful to have multiple entrances. And of course, the owner of that unit would have the front
Right.
entrance as well.
Right. If you park your vehicle here, you definitely prefer to go straight into this unit than walking around.
Right. Yeah, and as far as the style of the front door, you know, I hear both sides of the story here. I can't really say which is a better idea, because one idea says, well, we're going to transition it by making it look more residential, which makes some sense, and the other says, well, if it's a business, we should make it look like a business. So I kind of don't have an opinion on that. And the same thing with the dormers. I agree. I think the dormers do dress it up. I hear what Aaron's saying about having this expanse if you wanted to do solar, but you're making you're not discussing the solar option at all. So we might be looking at a long, length of asphalt roof for a long time before we get to that point. So I actually think the dormer does break it up and would make it look nicer. Do you have plans for that second floor, that second half story? Is there any plans for using that?
There won't be any more.
No,
a half a story upstairs.
Just
It
storage
will
or
be a
something?
one-story building, right? Not even a storage.
Not even storage?
No.
So it's just for looks?
False dormer, correct.
Okay. Not going to be an apartment or something someday, or
No.
Jim Flood's not going to be living there or anything? Okay. That's all, thank you.
I have no question at this time. I believe all the comments that we had were adequately discussed by the applicant as well as Aaron and the board members. So I have no comments. The only one I did have was basically the same thing that Mr. Genman had about the dumpster, but it makes sense where it is for the traffic flow.
Yeah.
And as long as it's screened properly, I have no problem with that at all. And I agree with Mr. Genman as well. The architectural could go either way, with the door there and also with the roofing. If they want to break it up, I have no problem with that, especially if they want to be, the fake dormers, not going to be putting things upstairs. If it's architectural, it might look nicer that way. So those comments, I have no problem with it either way. But that's basically the only concerns I had. what's the pleasure of the board? I know, so it's between...
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the amended plan by the applicant with the condition that they work with DPD on the signage and present us follow-up graphics to show us what you have.
I'll second that.
Could we make an amendment to the landscaping as well for DPD?
Oh, yeah, and the landscaping as well. Yeah, that
All
makes
right.
sense.
I think because, I think a couple of these
Yeah.
are duplicate if I mean, like, when we look at comment number 4, number 5, and I think number 7, Aaron, a lot of those have to do with the landscaping. So I think if we could put those all into one, is to work with
Yeah.
DPD in regards to all 3 of those, as indicated.
And sign.
Would that be satisfactory in form of a motion, or do you need it clearer?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, the motion would be for the signage as well as the landscaping, and I think the signs will have to go before the zoning board of appeals in the future anyway, so it'll come
It
before us.
all
for
depends on what it is,
Right.
Yeah.
Tom.
And have to come before us for a recommendation one way or another for the ZBA, so we'll get a look at it then.
Right.
But obviously, this time it's too early to tell, as indicated.
Well, when they design it, we'll submit it to DPD, and if they say, fine, I suppose, I don't see any need for it to come back to you as long as they agree with it. And we don't need Board of Appeals, if it conforms to zoning. But I know what Aaron's talking about. It's very similar to the one at CVS.
If any discussion on that, you can
Yeah.
always bring it right back before us, okay? So basically, we do have a motion before the board for approval with 2 conditions, to work with Division of Planning and Development with the signage and the landscaping, and I believe Mr. Genman seconded that with that amendment, with the landscaping? Okay, so motion been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
the chair votes yes. So we have 3 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 absence. Good luck, wish you well with the project.
Thank you very much.
Moving along, the next matter is a pre-application session. The following individuals have requested for the planning board to provide a preliminary review of their proposed project at the address listed below. These are not public hearings. Each project will require a public hearing in the future. This matter is, the address is located at 981 Varnum Ave. The applicant is the Sisters of Charity of Ottawa. The project is the Medical Rehabilitation Center, and the zoning is for suburban, single-family, and this will require a site plan review at the future date. The planning board will render no decision at tonight's meeting. This is basically for review process only. May we hear the case for the applicant, please?
Mr. Chairman, again, for the record, not that I don't want to pull my weight around here, but I'll be recusing myself from this deliberation as well.
Thank you, Mr. Claremont.
Getting out of everything.
Good evening. How are you tonight?
Good,
My
thank
name
you.
is Paul Fax, and I'm an attorney at 245 Winter Street in Waltham, and I represent the Sisters of Charity of Ottawa and Dewville Senior Care. We appreciate the opportunity to meet with the board tonight informally. Appreciate Aaron Clausen's assistance in putting us on the agenda and working with us. We've already met informally with the planning board staff, and we've had 2 meetings with the Pawtucketville Civic Association as we start this process. We will be proposing before the planning board in the future, as well as the Board of Appeals, a 50,000 square foot project that will create 55 transitional care units, short-term rehab units, at the existing 975, 981 Varnum Street project, which will be an integrated project to our existing facility. And in fact, the new facility will have a new kitchen that will serve the entire property. The only request that we're going to be making to the board now is for some minor changes in the scale and size of plans that we would submit in the future to the board. We're briefly going to hear from Mark Altenweg, who is a senior administrator at Uville, John Noonan, our civil engineer, who will walk you through our initial zoning compliance plan and show you how lot lines will change. We have to have separate lots for various financing and healthcare reimbursement purposes. And the main presentation will be handled by Phil Dowd, our architect to just give you an overview of our thinking so far on the project. In terms of what relief we understand that we will be seeking in the future, working with Aaron Clausen and the rest of the staff, is there's really two sets. From the Board of Appeal, just as a courtesy, want to mention to you, from the Board of Appeal, we will need two types of relief. One is a minor dimensional variance. When we create these new lot lines, this new building will actually be physically attached to our existing facility. So we're going to have some side yard dimensional variance that we need. We will also be seeking from the Board of Appeals special permit to extend a non-conforming use. Our thinking right now is that will probably be our first set of applications, especially because of this dimensional issue. And then we would expect to come back to the Planning Board looking to have you respond to our request for an approval not required plan. There'll have to be some shifting of lot lines, as well as, of course, a site plan special permit. And we look forward to your initial comments today and getting a sense as to what else you see we should be concerned on and focused on. I think the Pawtucketville civic meetings were very helpful. We made some modest changes based on their comments. And I'm going to turn it over now to Mark.
First and foremost, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for taking this time and giving me the opportunity to express how this project is extremely important to us at Duville. Duville, we are sponsored by the Sisters of Charity of Ottawa, and their mission is compassionate care. They've passed that mission on to us as representatives of Duville and asked us to use that mission to build a full continuum of care in the city. A good example of this continuum is a park that we just opened up that's enjoyed by all the seniors that are able to at Duville Senior Care, as well as individuals in Pawtucketville. If the weather would ever cooperate with us, people would use it a little bit more. Getting back to the continuum, when we saw that Lowell General Hospital was going to sell their transitional care unit, we thought this was a perfect opportunity for us to expand on that continuum, as well as to keep a much-needed service into the community. So we purchased the license, and we want to build that on Duville Senior Care, and there's multiple things that this addresses as far as our mission. It helps with the continuum of care. As well, it helps us to maintain our financial solvency in a period where economically things are becoming more and more challenging with reimbursement. It's extremely important to us that we keep this into the community. It's a much-needed service. It's going to help the community. It's going to help Duville Senior Care. It's very important, and it's going to be a wonderful project. And we've been in the community now for 50 years. We went to the Pawtucketville Citizens Group. We showed them what we were doing. They were excited about the project. We've been working with them, and we want to maintain our good standing in the neighborhood. So it's extremely important. We want to bring the project in, but we also want to be a good neighbor. So we're going to do whatever we can financially to make this project work and to make the neighborhood and the individuals in that neighborhood happy with the project as well. So that's just a little brief overview of why it's important to us to help us maintain our solvency, to bring something to the community and keep a service in the community that is very important and needed in the community. So I'm going to turn it over now to John Noonan to talk about a little bit more of the details.
Good afternoon. Is it all right if I use the mic up front just so I can point to the
Wherever you
plan?
feel more comfortable, sir.
One over here, too.
Use the stand one, if you want to put that one on, the green one I can use.
That's on now, so,
That one on?
yeah, it's on.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'm John Noonan with Noonan McDowell Land Surveyors and Civil Engineers located in Billerica, Massachusetts. And in order for us to create this parcel, we're basically taking two existing lots that are owned and outlined in blue in this area and rearranging the lot line that comes between them. So this section here, which is dashed, will come out and we'll have a new parcel which is shaped in green, which will encompass the orange building here. And the pink is the existing building. So you can see right this location, that's where our variance would be required for dimensional requirements for having the zero offset as the buildings will be connected. Now, the reason why we're requesting a variance or a waiver from your regulations with respect to sheet size and scale is from this length here to here, it's about 1,000 feet. At a 20 scale, that's 50 inches. So if we can go to a 30 by 42 at a 30 scale, we can fit this entire area on one sheet as opposed to having multiple sheets for the submission, which make it much simpler to see. This is basically what the 30 by 42 would look like. So we can see the full 1,000 feet basically fits all the way across. You can see the existing and the proposed conditions all on one sheet, as opposed to having to cut it up into multiple sheets. It's just for the review, presentation, it would make everything much easier. And also for construction, there'd be a lot less sheets that they'd be working with. So that's the reason for the 2 waivers that we're requesting from your regulations. I don't know if you have any specific questions on the waiver or on the zoning compliance plan with respect to the proposed lot shape.
If you want to explore that a little deeper, sure.
Let's go back to this one. As Paul had mentioned earlier, we do have to go to the Board of Appeals for variance, and it's dimensional. The building will be joined right at this location here, so we will not be able to comply with the 10-foot setbacks, and it's necessary to have them comply or connect just for the workability between Duville's campus and the services they provide, maintenance, food, and everything that their operation needs with respect to the facility.
So is that the only spot where you need it?
Correct, right in this one location where the buildings come together.
Okay, so it's just that one limited area. Okay, thank you,
Correct.
sir. All right.
And if that's it, I can...
And the other one was to extend the non-conforming use, which is, okay,
Exactly, correct.
okay. And backing up 1 second, did I hear, when you come before us, do you need just a special permit, or do you also need you need a special permit and a site plan, or just one of the two?
Yeah, we need to get a special permit from the Board of Appeals to
But just
extend the
site plan from-
nonconformity.
Right, okay. So the special permit will be from the zoning board of appeals, and you just need site plan review from us?
Correct.
If, okay.
Yeah,
And those matters that you're requesting, we will have input on those at the site plan approval, so the ZBA will know what our requirement is when you request that before us. We can address that, we'll comment on that.
Yeah. We'll be preparing an application with the Zoning Board of Appeals for the dimensional requirement and for the extension of the nonconformity.
Okay.
And then we'll be coming back to you for an approval not required plan,
Okay.
so we can create the parcel and then file for site plan approval.
So in your waivers here, one's the size of the drawing plan,
And, correct?
Yeah.
and what was another one?
And the sheet size.
Okay, sheet size. Why don't we address that now? Any of the board members have any comments with that?
I just think it, whatever clarifies it, we certainly don't want too much paper or anything too large or small, but,
Yeah, and the match line, having it go through the middle would make it very confusing.
yeah, well, whatever clip makes
I
it.
mean, I usually don't have a problem
I don't
as
have
long
a
as you can
problem
read
with
it, you know, I mean,
Yeah, right,
sometimes people
right.
try to put too much into one and it gets too difficult, but you know yourself because you're probably working off of more than we would be.
Yeah, but your old
whatever makes
requirements
it
used to be
clear.
1 inch equals 50.
Okay. Steve, you comment on
I'm
that?
curious, Aaron, what's your opinion on the waiver on the sheet size? Is there any issue from your perspective? It doesn't matter to me.
Everybody else?
No, I think 30 scale is adequate to kind of get into the details of the project. So I think that's fine. It makes sense.
If there's an area that requires specific analysis, it might be a good idea to break that out or something, where you're actually asking for the setback or something like that. You might want to break that out into a larger scale so we can see it better. I got to use these now, and sometimes it's hard to read them with that.
Yeah, that's a good point, and there actually will be areas that will be broken out with respect to the landscape planning, that it has to get blown up for better detail of what plant species will be going where.
So can we, board, make a comment on that now to let these gentlemen know so they come back? Does somebody want to make a motion to allow the size and the scale that he's requesting?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Steve, you have any comment on that?
I'll second that with the
Any detail has to be broken down?
that detail
will be
needs to be
brought on a
broken
separate
out on a
Yeah.
separate
Okay.
sheet.
I have no problem with that, so we'll make a formal, take a vote. So we have a motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 And chair votes yes. So we will allow to have you change the size and the scale and any detail, if you want to put that on a separate sheet. Like,
Okay, great.
and maybe as that Mr. Jevons said, where you get your, the side yard area, if you're going to break that down so they can, just on one, that small area that you're looking at, so we can see much more of the detail.
Okay, thank you.
So when we're looking at the whole big picture, we can focus on that. And I'm sure we'll be up there to look at that before it comes in anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
And then when we see it, we'll know exactly where to look.
all right, thank you. If you'd like to take the time, Phil Dow with Levi Wong is here, and he can give you a quick overview of the project and what they're
Sure, I
proposing.
appreciate that.
That'd be
If you'd like,
good.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phil?
Thank you, sir.
While he's getting set up, if I could just make a comment on the timeline of submissions. Typically, as the board is aware, the planning board would review the site plan prior to the public hearing for a special permit or a variance, as the site plan conditions are incorporated into any approval for a variance or a special permit. So
Okay.
just as you're moving forward, it makes
So-
sense to do it in that. So you go to the planning board first for site plan review, and then the zoning board of appeals for the special permit and variance.
Okay.
Because see, what happens usually at the site plan, any conditions that we attach there too, those go as part of a recommendation to the
Okay.
ZBA. So
All right.
they'd look at all our conditions, and if they approve it,
Okay.
all our site plan recommendations would be encompassed in their approval.
Right.
And
Okay.
that way, when you come before us for the non-conforming use in the side yard, we'll have a recommendation on that, and then they will see it, because they will want to know what our recommendation is on that
Okay.
matter. So if you come before us first, any conditions that we approve, then we give a recommendation to them as well, and they would take a look at the conditions. So if not, if you go to them first, more likely than not, they're going to send you back to us.
Okay.
So it might just save you a trip, is what we're trying to tell you
Okay.
nicely.
Yeah.
They might say, we want to hear from the planning board on the site plan first. So procedure-wise, you can pick and choose which way you want to go, but more times than not, if you go there first, they'll send you to us.
Okay.
So just trying to save you a
All
trip.
right. I know, I appreciate that.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, go ahead, please, sir. Just for clarification, we figured we'd let you know before advertising, then re-advertising, and, right, thank you.
Yes, always important to do the steps in the right way. We want to thank you very much for making time to see us on short notice. Despite Mr. Faxon's introduction, I'm going to keep it pretty short tonight. I'm happy to answer questions as appropriate, but obviously we are returning again with a more elaborate and more thorough set of designs and documents to show you. So this will be kind of a quick run through tonight, answering any questions you may have. My name is Philip Dowds. I'm the principal in charge for Levi Wong Architects in Concord, Massachusetts. We do elder care and health care all over New England. With me tonight I have Neil Harrigan, our project manager. You will see us again. Just for some very quick context, aerial overview of the facility in question. I'm sure you've all been by it and have some knowledge of it, but it's Duval Senior Care, which the white here represents an extensive existing campus, which includes a little more than 200 beds of skilled nursing care. It includes a convent area here. This portion, which was built in the 50s, has been renovated to HUD 202 elderly housing. And you probably know that just very recently this was, that Briere Gardens was expanded with a new 3-story building right here. Duval holds possession of a tremendous amount of land, some 75 acres, that keeps going back and back here. But in fact, when you look at it carefully, much or most of it really isn't suited for development. A lot of this is wetlands, most of it has very poor access, most of it has difficult terrain. We have been working with Duval Senior Care for about a year now, and one of our first duties was to try to figure out what development potential was left on the land, where we could put an addition to their existing facility that would coordinate with the nursing care they currently provide. The front yard is totally committed to both a detention basin, visible here, and a landscape feature which benefits the entire street and neighborhood. There is no development opportunity and no development plan for that. There was a little room to do something over here, but that has been filled up by the addition to do Briere Gardens. The wetlands start pretty close to the back of the property, so and also this service area and parking is back here. There really isn't any place on the back side to build anything substantial. So if you rule out the north side, the east side, and the front yard, the area that's left is an area that's visible from the street that is right here, where an existing driveway comes fairly close to the building, ties to the parking back here. And then just beyond that driveway, there is a substantial hill. The project that is being designed and proposed is the yellow area here, which is 2 levels, 24,000 square feet, roughly 25,000 square feet each level. And probably the most important thing to understand about all this is that this side, this westernmost face, is pushed into the hill, such that in fact In this area, it's a one-story building, but facing the existing Duville campus, it's 2 stories, just like the building it's next to. And we'll show you a little more of that as we go along. John already briefly showed you the site plan. Let's see if here we got it. An enlargement of the intended site plan. The existing driveway passes right through the intended building location. It is going to be terminated and planted over, and a new driveway is going to work its way up the edge of the hill, rising up a full story to a new main entrance in this area. We are working on the parking plan now, but the parking will meet the standards applicable for this kind of use. That area right through here is almost all level, and then the driveway starts down again, ties back into the parking area at the rear. So basically what we've done is taken a driveway here, we've pushed it 70 or 80 feet this direction and raised it up 12 to 13 feet, 1 story higher than it used to be. Other site features will include a new delivery entrance. Trucks will come and go this way. There will be the usual trash compactors and recycling units and so on, and a new truck delivery entrance in this area. So this is sort of the service courtyard, an extension of the service area back here. This will become a much more public courtyard facing Varnum Ave, a landscaped garden that starts in the interior of the building, works its way around the front. And if you know anything about the Duville building, one of its best features are landscape courtyards, which are very, very, if you go inside the building, landscape courtyards, very important and very successful amenities for the existing building, and this begins to replicate some of that. Otherwise, the project is confined totally to what you see here. We are not getting involved with anything, any site work, except for a small piece back here where the adult daycare center, which is currently here, is going to be moved to this area over here once the uses that are in this area, some of them are going to be brought to this building. One important thing to understand is that this building, in some respects, is an integral part and an extension of the existing operation. The existing kitchen over here is too small. It is going to be rebuilt at more than twice its size in this building, in the lower level of this building. Laundry service for this building is not going to have a laundry, but Duville has recently added a major, one of the best nursing home laundries I've ever seen, a major laundry in this area. So this facility here will be providing laundry services to this new construction and so on. So what we want to make clear is that this is for certain life safety, building code, business, and financial reasons. This building is separate, but in terms of operation, it has many relationships with the existing campus and is an extension of it. What did I do with it? It's here. Got it. We won't dwell too long on the floor plan, but this is a blow-up of the yellow shape you saw, the cross-shape or T-shaped building that we had. And just to introduce you very quickly to what's going on in here, this is the main entrance, which is up at the level of the second floor as it exists of Duville. And in fact, we have a way of making a connection from this building through a firewall into the other building, which benefits us in a number of ways. But that is the connection point for traffic which may be going back and forth between the two buildings there. But the main entrance is on the west side and goes through a vestibule to a lobby. And some of the features here include double occupancy rooms here, single occupancy rooms here, about 29 total. And in this end of the building down here, there are 4 single occupancy rooms scheduled for hospice use for the last days of life. And that is in its own sheltered, isolated suite at this end of the building. At the opposite end of the building, beyond the lobby and the service core and the staff spaces and the offices, opposite end of the building is sort of the reason for existence of this whole project, and that is the rehab gym and the OT-PT suite. This is the area where the patients who are in these rooms here, they typically come in for a couple of weeks, get certain kinds of training and therapy and strengthening, and then will go home again. This is the area in which those various treatments and exercises and therapeutic programs occur. And you may know that transitional care units, or TCUs, that's sort of the shorthand code for this. This is a very, this is an expanding field and creates facilities which are not as expensive or complicated as hospitals, but they are more advanced and more technically supported than a typical nursing home. So it's this whole facility is going to be functionally and conceptually someplace between nursing home for the elderly and an acute care hospital. That is the main floor. I won't take you downstairs now, you'll see it later. But downstairs there will be a similar but smaller facility. There are 32 beds up here, and that's right, 32 up here and 23 downstairs, which makes a total of 55 beds. So down in this area, right here, there's going to be a second but smaller therapeutic unit. There are the usual mechanical spaces and service spaces. This area right here is going to be the new kitchen downstairs that serves the entire campus. That's a very, very quick introduction to the plan. And of course, one of the main considerations for everybody is, what is this going to look like? How is it going to affect the neighborhood? How is it going to affect Varnum Ave? It's very important to note, and this is a panorama photograph that we put together of this area of Varnum Ave. The driveway that I was pointing to before, the main entrance off of Varnum Ave, is there. In fact, you can see the existing driveway that the building's going to drop on sort of snaking behind the building here down to the parking area in the back. But the thing that is important to note is that it has been Duville's tradition to employ heavy landscaping. Behind all these trees here, behind all of those trees, there is a substantial two-story nursing home. One of the reasons why I say substantial is it has really enormous floor-to-floor heights. So it's not just a house, it's kind of a big house when you take a look at it. But this is exactly how it is today. We're all hard-pressed to actually see or find that building. We have taken the liberty of sort of rearranging the landscaping so you can see a little bit of it in this photograph, and making a representation of the design that we are showing for the new transitional care unit, which will be added to the building in the back here. This is the rehab gym that I was talking about. This is part of it, the OT suite here. One of the things we've tried very hard to do is to break down the scale of this element so that not only are the basic pieces of this view similar to the scale and the articulation of the existing building, which you can't see because it's behind the trees. It also has elements in it which are much more house scale, not the same, not as uniform or huge as one would find in your typical office building or your office park. That is one view of it there. I can show you another one. Which is more easterly on Varnum Ave. Again, we spoke briefly of the detention park and the landscape lawn, which is a major feature for Varnum Ave. That remains unchanged. You can see a little bit of the parking in front of the main entrance, not very much. This is how it is today. This is not a doctored photograph, that's just what's there. And behind all that is a two-story nursing home. Again, we have taken some liberties with the trees so that you can start to have some sense of what is there already and what will be there in the future. The most I can say about this is that we have no plan, nobody has any plans to remove existing trees. They are going to stay put and be protected. We haven't finished the landscaping plan for this, but it is quite possible the finished result is going to be almost as hard to see as that. So,
Excuse me, can I just ask, are you saying this top photograph is some kind of a rendering?
yes, this is,
Okay.
this has been, this is a computer simulation of the building. This is exactly what, that is not a, that's a photograph of exactly what's there now.
Okay, thanks.
So we have, in terms of building appearance and effect on Varnum Ave, we have two major points to make, one of which is we think we have a design which is responsive to the scale and the height and character of what's existing. The second point we have to make is you may never see it. We are more than happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time, and we would be certainly interested in hearing from you what your early concerns might be, what you'd want to hear more from us about when we return.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Lockhart.
Could you put the plan up, the land, plan of the land again? Yeah, that one. I would be concerned, just looking at, it's a very complex, set of buildings there, and it's very busy. And with the addition of another 50,000 square feet and 55 units, could you step through both, car traffic, where it's gonna go, and also, you're gonna have an impact on your deliveries and for various things. Just step through that whole process to shed some light on how
Okay.
you're handling that.
I think that's a good question. If you don't mind, let me go back to the plan that shows the site in its entirety and answer that question. Currently, the two driveways are signed according to what you can reach most easily. This is intended to be the main entrance, with this perhaps being the egress. And in fact, if you look at the sign down here, it names all of the major facilities. The lesser components, including the convent and deliveries and so on, are mentioned on this sign here. I would have to say, though, that right at the moment, it is not, I don't know that it's strictly managed to put this kind of car here and that kind of truck there. I think people use whatever driveway may be most convenient in the moment. We have been talking about this issue of how is traffic going to work after we add to it.
I would think you'd want to separate the two as much as you could,
Yeah.
just from a safety standpoint.
We know there are some things we are going to do. We're going to insist that truck traffic come in here, make its deliveries here, and go out here again. So one of the things we don't want, this will be a reasonable gradient on the hill, but nonetheless, we don't want big trucks trying to work their way up the hill past the front door of this building and then down again. So trucks and deliveries will be going here. Adult daycare, which presently comes around here and delivers here, is going to be going in and out here. And a great deal of the staff is going to be going in and out here. Visitors come as they come. Some visitors come this way, some come that way, but mostly the visitors end up in this area, and they come in and out of the entrance that suits them. And we are giving consideration to how that will be in the future. I'm not sure we've made a conclusion yet. Yeah. We do know that there will be some number of visitors and ambulances coming up here to this new main entrance. And we believe at the moment that we are not we do not want to take those people who came in here and visited this building and send them all the way back around here, which I think especially for people not familiar with the campus, they would find that to be kind of an arduous way to get out. So we are imagining that people will come up here and go out this way, the way they came in. Some may find it convenient to go back here for some reason.
Phil? So just also in response to that, we have had retained Van Ness and Associates. They've begun their traffic studies. They've given us a preliminary traffic study, and sometimes it's helpful to put this in context. So in their preliminary work, they indicated that in this section of Varnum Avenue, you're talking about 6,500 vehicles per day on Varnum Avenue. This particular project, because of the nature of it, short-term transitional care rehab, and what that means, and also the fact that it's integrated into our existing facility, so we get some economies of scale in terms of kitchen staff and staffing and the like, that would add 156 vehicles. So Varnum Ave right now is seeing 6,500. This would add 156. One of the things that's interesting to me that's very different than some other types of projects is, of that 156 vehicle trips per day, 78 round trip, only 19 are during morning peak hours, only 33 are during evening peak hours, because you have a nursing staff, you have visitors who will come at various times, so you're not talking about the type of increase in traffic you might see, let's say, with an office building or something like that. Vanessa basically, in their conclusion, says that they don't see any appreciable degradation in operating conditions that would be readily apparent to motorists, pedestrians, and bicyclists. Obviously, this is the beginning, not the end of this discussion, and we will be speaking with the staff, the Board of Appeals, with the Planning Board, but I wanted to let you know that we've begun that process and brought in an established traffic engineer, and we found those preliminary results helpful in terms of putting this in context.
Have you identified any areas where you could cut out a small parking area for additional parking if you need it?
There is, we have
on
gotten,
the site?
we do have the sense of the parking, so why don't you indicate where that would be generally? I think that, John, is it, right? And John, I think that it's only, how many spaces? 18, so under the code.
All right, so it's not.
It's 18,
Yeah.
and we can show you where it would be. Again, it's because of the nature of the use,
Right.
just short-term rehab patients, the fact that we can piggyback on to staff. How many new staff, what's the staff figures for there?
It's awful busy. It's good.
So, and again, the kitchen staff, the laundry
Yeah.
staff, maintenance staff, we're kind of getting some economies.
As far as the trucking, we get our, all deliveries already, so we wouldn't, anticipate any, additional, we would just have, larger delivery, there'd be more on the trucks.
Matt, just identify yourself.
True,
Just
yeah.
identify yourself.
Sorry, I'm acting, we charge building projects, people.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
One space per 3 beds is the parking requirement, we understand, which means about 18 additional spaces. I believe we're going to be planning for a few more than that, because
Would
we have to
recommend
pay
that,
attention
sure.
not only to your minimum requirements, but also to what's going to work for Duval.
Can you show them where they are? Just point out a little bit where they are.
I believe what is shown right here, let me go back to the other plan, which I think will show it a little better.
Yeah, it's a little easier to see it there.
One of the nice things about this particular plan is that the entrance is off to the side, and remember, there's a hillside there. So that really changes, in a positive way, the way that it impacts on Varnum.
Right at the moment, what's drawn in this plan is 24 spaces, not 18 spaces, but 24. Again, they are going to be mostly for visitors, family visitors, doctor visitors, and so on. Staff will find itself much more often back in this area and entering the building either this way or through an interior corridor system. We do have, sorry?
Show them where Varnum is.
Oh, yeah, Varnum, little piece of Varnum out here.
Right.
This is, all these drawings have the same orientation. And we do have an option for additional parking following along the flatter portion of the egress drive here. So if it turns out we need more parking, there is a place to put it.
Anything else? Mr. Gentleman, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm curious, are there other transitional care units in the city? Do you know?
You guys?
There was, and Old General had one, and they closed it to expand, their cancer research.
Right, right.
This would have gone out of the city had we not purchased a license, so we're trying to keep.
I see.
Okay.
Yeah, because most people that I've known of that have had a need for this type of care seem to go out of the community, Salem and other places outside the local community. So I can see that something like this would be an asset to the city. So my initial reaction is positive, that it's good that we're having a facility like this on the drawing board. I did have a couple of questions, though. So I was a little confused. It sounds like Duville currently owns all of this property that is being developed. Yes?
Yes, the sisters own all 75 acres.
And just to clarify it, this parcel of land actually constitutes several lots, several legal lots now. And for financing purposes and for some medical reimbursement purposes, there are more than one affiliate of the sisters who have title.
Okay.
So there's two affiliates of the sisters, and then one affiliate who has title, and that's tied into historic financing and medical reimbursement issues.
Okay.
But it functions as one campus, and
Right.
will do so with this new addition.
Okay. So that's why we're talking about moving lot lines and setbacks and all that kind of thing, because technically it's multiple lots, but it's been operating as a single parcel for many years. Okay.
Under single ownership, and there are no plans known to anyone to change that.
Right. Okay. And, I do also think Duville's been a good neighbor to the city for a long time. And the parcel is a beautiful campus along Varnum Ave. I'm glad to hear you're not messing with the retention area and that area in the front there, because that really makes it look quite spacious.
John Noonan told us to let it alone, and we did.
Can you put the photograph of the aerial photograph up there for a minute?
Yes.
Now, where is the nearest neighbor? On this parcel on the bottom of the photograph, is that all Duville property there, or is there a neighbor there someplace?
You're talking about that right there?
Yeah.
Nearest to the project. Yeah, that probably is the nearest neighbor. Matt, do you know something about that property?
That's the only lot, and then it's, behind it is all state forest.
Okay, so that's a single-family home there?
Correct, it's for sale right now, actually.
Oh, really?
Right now, right?
Yeah, I believe it's being rented out.
Okay. Okay.
But again, as you're looking at this, one thing that's sometimes hard to appreciate unless you're at the site is the contour of the hill.
Yes.
So there's a natural buffer there without us even working at it because of that hill that then comes down.
Okay. And what is that? I see a white space further back along the driveway. Is that just something in the landscape, further toward Varnum Ave? No. Just behind that single-family lot that you just showed me. See that? That's just...
Oh, there, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a sand pit.
And then, of course, the single-family home is across the street.
Right.
So you're really not affecting, other than that one parcel, you're not going to have any impact, and it may not even be an impact on that one. And it sounds like you're already talking with the neighborhood group.
We've had 2 meetings with Pawtucketville Civic Association, which were helpful. They resulted in us thinking a little bit further about landscaping and making some modest changes to the facade that is visible from Varnum Avenue. The other thing to mention too here is that we won't be seeking any new curb cuts. I mean, I know that was mentioned earlier by Phil, but from just a perspective of what the neighbors are used to, it's not like they're about to find a new entrance coming on to Varnum Avenue. We're going to tie into the exact entrance and exits that are there now. And again, it's not that difficult when you have a 156 round trip.
Right.
Very little in rush hour. You don't have the peaks that you normally see in most uses.
Right. Yeah. No, I noticed that. I was happy to see that. No, I think it looks like a very reasonable plan. The only thing I was questioning, same thing that Mr. Lockhart brought up, was the parking. The code, I think, is a little sparse there because you know, the 55 beds will generate a lot of visitors, and they'll be in and out. So and it sounds like you are making moves to try and buffer that a little bit. So I think that's a good thing.
We have the room.
more parking, the better.
Right, we have the room to do that. So if we need to do that, we'll do that. And if the board views that as to be a wise thing, then that's something obviously we want to hear.
Okay. No, that's all I had for now.
And I want to also thank you, because one of the purposes here was obviously to go through our sequencing. So I just wanted to go through that one more time while I have you all here. So it would seem to me that the recommended sequencing, if I can call it that, would be the following. First, to go to the Board of Appeals to get our variance for the dimensional, because we can't get our A&R. Let me explain that, by the way. One is we're going to have an issue with the A&R if we don't get that variance. And it also is tied into our certificate of need process with the state. And before we submit our package, we need to have taken care of that. So sequentially, there's another process here going on simultaneously with the state and our certificate of need process. So if we were to go apply for our Board of Appeals, this de minimis variance that is caused because of the nature of the lot lines, then come back to the planning board for both the A&R and the site plan review, and then go back to the Board of Appeals for a special permit to extend a non-conforming use. Okay, given that the variance is important to us for other reasons to take care of that, would that be something that would most
believe so.
efficiently use everyone's resources?
I believe it would. Aaron, do you have any comment on that? I believe that'd be probably...
Yeah, that seems to make sense. I just don't know if you're going to get into the zoning board of appeals prior to the next planning board meeting.
No, we're not.
Yeah,
No, we're not. We're gonna, based on what the feedback we've gotten here, is I don't think that that's gonna happen. Because of the nature of the regulations with respect to the certificate of need process and the package that we need to provide, the variance is a important piece to that. Special permits are allowed to be pending, but sequentially, that's something important. So there is a logic to where we're coming from, but I want to make sure that we're doing it still consistent with what the most efficient process is here, and that's why I wanted to have that
So
conversation.
you need that action on first.
Pardon me?
You need that action from
Yeah.
the zoning board before you
Yes.
go further.
Yes.
And then, when you go to them, tell them you've been here for, the informal review.
Absolutely.
You explained all that to us. This is sequential that you spoke with us about, and you plan on coming back to us for the site plan, then back over when you need the other
Okay.
variances. And I think, hopefully,
That's very helpful.
yeah, I mean,
That's
so-
very
and
helpful.
you let them know, we're here for this reason, we gotta go back, and now we're coming back. As being before the planning board, that's what we discussed, and they felt that was the most comfortable way to go, subject to their approval,
Right.
hopefully.
Right.
Okay. I just have a couple of comments. I actually like the way you're attaching the building to your other building. I think talking about the type of clientele you have there, it's nice
And
to...
we have to, because again, what we're going to happen, and Matt or Mark may want to speak to this, this is also, again, Phil mentioned it, this is solving another issue, a secondary issue, which is an obsolescence and an inadequacy in the kitchen facilities. Does that be a fair statement? So it's going to be a little awkward bringing over 200 and plus person meals a day if we don't have that connection. But that, of course, is the reason why we need the minor dimensional variance, because we're not going to make the side yard.
I mean, explain it tonight, it makes a lot of sense. And obviously, if you have anybody in any of those other units who have to come over here for rehabilitation, you don't want to take them outside and bring them in. You just want to take them in a wheelchair.
And this
move them down
facility
the
will
hall.
have a gym. I mean, this will have a place for the PTs and the OTs to do their therapy work.
Yeah, because I think, as you said in your presentation, that's adding up your kitchen help and everything else, so it makes sense to have it attached to the building, make it a lot easier for transition period for all the people who are there. I also do like the fact how you did your best to try to screen everything. We are very familiar with the site because we've approved other additions to that site in the past. And I know that by your screening, especially how you have that into that hill there, you really only get to see the second floor inside the first hill. So you're using the landscape to your benefit, the screening. And I think basically that helps with your neighborhood concerns when you met with the neighborhood. In your traffic flow, I think basically you should be all set with that as long as you have your signage in, so you don't have people going behind the building, which you really don't want to encourage. So when you have your parking there, you have your signage exit back towards back towards the main street instead of going behind the back. And I know with the parking configuration, I know if anybody's been up there to visit people at Duville, there's never been a problem with parking. I know I mean, I know what the allotment is, but I can honestly say I've never seen that place maxed when it comes to parking, unfortunately. So I know you have your plenty, and I think that should be sufficient, but it's nice to know you have additional if you need it. But even like if you go up there, like even on holidays, when you get a lot of people visiting, people who are in there, and I know your peak time is you're dressed, it's not gonna affect
Yeah,
the
that's-
traffic flow
the
because of
peak
the
is
type of
easy.
clientele you have there. And I know when we've considered other additions to this in the past, that did come up, and we noticed that the neighborhood's well aware of it. But it's something that's not gonna add to that traffic count. I mean, and the numbers you gave us were really minor. I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, if you can just, I mean, I think some of your signage, the way you have good signage there now, if you have people, sign it up there and have them go right back that way instead of going on the back. But I think it's definitely needed in the city, and I think looks like it's on its way to being a good project. I give you a lot of credit for it. I mean, there's definitely a need for people in the city to be able to go there and use that type of facility. And like, especially those pictures you're showing us, that you're trying to minimize that neighborhood impact. I think that's important. Anybody who lives up there, I know Duville's been good about that in the past, and when you put those up there, it's, I mean, and even if you threw a couple more trees, and you wouldn't see it at all like it is today. And I think that, like you said, that slope, like, I think it'll be a nice project. I mean, it's tell you nice. I mean, you add them right onto the existing building, for good reasons, instead of separating it. I think that creates, more problems, moving things around. I mean, even if you're moving patients, I mean, and it's easy to add on instead of another whole building, and then you're using less space in between. So by listening to what you have to say about, the side yard, now that you explained it with the different ownership and the lot lines, it's a pretty reasonable request, I believe. But I think it looks nice. I really do. Any other board members, anything else?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious what your time frame is for construction. When do you hope to be breaking ground?
Our hope is that we will start this project in the spring of 2010 and finish it in the summer of 2011. We have a long and arduous approval process to go through, including at the Department of Public Health. We don't have perfect control over all the timing.
Right. Okay, that's aggressive. Just one more comment on the parking. Well, the chairman makes a good point about the ample parking for the current facility. I think that this portion of it, because of its positioning, it's probably going to be difficult for people to use the existing parking to access this facility. So while the facility itself has ample parking, I think you need to think about the parking you add. You'll need to add enough parking to adequately service this facility standalone.
Yeah, well, fortunately, we have the room for that, so that we're certainly open to going beyond the minimum under the zoning code. And I think our traffic engineer will continue to also provide some insights on that. But that's something, obviously, that always comes up, and we want to make sure that's adequate. Unfortunately, we have the ability to do that.
And the only further comment I'd say on that would be, if you can try to have extra handicap parking space, so people who are leaving that facility are just going in on crutches, out on a wheelchair, there are plenty of places to access them, and people with the good health, obviously, don't do that, so maybe you can put more handicap right to the front.
If you take a look at the site plan, that's exactly what we've done. We're way over the
Yeah, I
handicap
mean,
limit
we
for
applaud it
parking right near
when you
the
look at a
door.
rehab facility, I mean, you're gonna,
Yep.
Definitely gotta do that.
and, especially if, you have a temporary parking space, people dropping off, picking up, hopefully,
We have, all those things are in the site
Sure.
plan.
I mean, that's particularly what you're servicing,
Yep.
Well, good luck, we wish you well.
Well, we thank you. We also thank Aaron Clausen, who's very helpful in terms of getting us on the agenda today and working with us. So we look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir, good luck. Good luck to all of you for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. You have a baby over there? Yeah. Yeah. Did they show that, what, the funny thing? Yeah, and then I saw this on the, let me go from the agenda. No, those ones are pretty real. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they do a good job at that, I get it, but I know they have it. I appreciate it. Okay, moving along on the agenda, we have nothing scheduled under old business. At this point in time, we'll pick up our other matters that come in under other business. Any notices from abutting towns? Aaron, any comments on anything that come up particularly from any concerns of any of our neighbor cities in town?
There is one element we passed out a little packet before the meeting. We got some letters today, but there's, on the last page, there's a letter from a gentleman at the Lighthouse School who just wanted to express his concern about cell phone towers and the impacts on his school. This, just as a comment, it really doesn't have anything to do with the recent application by Omni Point. It's actually, the school's actually in Chelmsford, on the other side of Lowell, so didn't really have anything to do with that project per se. But he just wanted to express concern about his concern with health impacts on students due to frequency issues, I guess. So just wanted to point that out. Came out, it's not really a letter from an abutting town, but that came in for the board. And then also we have a issuance of a Chapter 91 waterway license here for, and I believe this is for the temporary bridge to the Hamilton Canal District to begin construction over there. And then the NEMCOG agenda. So that was it.
Not the temporary work bridge?
No, this is
Different temporary bridge.
When that came before us, the temporary, yeah, was that 20 years ago?
Hopefully more temporary than that.
30,
Yeah.
try 30.
Yeah. Has it been now? Yeah. Okay, so we entertain a motion to place those matters on file.
So moved.
Second.
Most movements, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Moving along, we do have notices from the zoning board of appeals.
Mr. Chair, before we do that, I had a question on the A and R report. Do we want to
Sure.
wait on that, or?
Sure. You want to go on the A&R report? Sure.
Yeah, I was, Aaron, I was just looking at this development on Dancost Street, and it looks like it's two single-family development going in there, and I was curious why that doesn't have to come before us for site plan approval.
Because this for the trigger for site plan approval is 3 or more residential units held in common ownership on a single lot, or on multiple lots held in common ownership. So
Okay.
that didn't trigger it for that.
Okay, I thought it was 2 or more, but, okay, thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else have any further comments from the A&R reports now that we're on those instead of coming back to them? Any further comments? Okay. So now let's move back to the zoning board of appeals. These are matters that are scheduled for public hearing before the zoning board of appeals, scheduled for June 22nd at 6:30 p.m. to be held here at the city council chambers. There are 3 matters on. The first matter is a special permit, and this is for trustees at 444 Fletcher Street Realty Trust. And this is for a traditional multi-family, a special permit to alter and change a non-conforming structure according to section 4.5.3 of the zoning ordinance, and subsequent variance for insufficient land area dwelling unit for same according to section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. We do have the copy of the application in our file and a copy of the plan.
This is the Fletcher Street property?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it, Fletcher Street is down the bottom. When you look at the plan, I mean, when you look at lot 1, it'll be up to the right.
Sorry about that.
I mean, so, I was up there looking at it yesterday, and the more I looked at it, the more confused I got.
Yeah, I got a little confused.
I mean, so on 444, you have to go into the right of the 444 building to go up the existing driveway. Then they're gonna show 1 parking spot. And then they show the existing property line. And then, so, this is for 444, so the proposed parking has to be on lot,
438.
yeah, on 438.
Yeah, this, I agree with you, this plan has a lot of problems, not the least of which, it looks like they're trying to provide for the parking for Lot 1 over on Lot 2. There's already an existing dwelling on Lot
Right.
2. They must have some sort of relationship where they would allow the parking so that they can just meet the parking requirements of 10. But this misses frontage, this misses front yard, this misses side yard, and the lot area per density unit is way short of what they need.
I mean-
4,000 being required and 1,400 being what is suggested.
I mean, when you stand there on Fletcher Street, I mean, there's that granite wall that comes up to me at least over waist to chest high. So then they're gonna put a proposed guardrail. As it is there now, there was at least 3 SUVs parked there facing the street. And back where you see proposed parking number 8, the one behind that, where the existing 438, the existing dwelling where the steps are, right now there's a little area where there's a little black basketball hoop and it's drawn in on the pavement, where the foul line and stuff would be. So it looks like they are working on the site now, working on if you looked at the proposed dwelling, the left-hand corner looks like an overhead porch. They had a construction sign there, there was work on there. But it looks like, so you have to come up all the way through this driveway, turn around in the back, come all the way over to get to all this parking. So this parking on Lot 2 does not come out onto Fletcher Street. So you really have to cut in between the existing house of 438 and existing of 444 where that little arrow is. And I'm not exactly sure unless is that the 12.5 feet? So you're gonna have cars going both directions there as well for that arrow from one house to the other?
You'd have to.
So,
It's totally inadequate.
when I walked up the driveway, I looked over there and I noticed it was pretty narrow. I didn't walk all the way around because there were people on site and I didn't want to overextend my welcome. But, I mean, I could see if there's snow issues as well, trying to put cars both ways there, but it looks like picking up all the parking on the other neighbor's lot. I just think it's, my personal opinion, I think it's way too much on one site.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
that was my
Yeah, it
experience
is.
by walking in and
It's
sitting there
overused
and
now and they wanna-
turning the
they
plan
wanna
and looking at it
expand
in every
The
direction. I'm like,
dimensional stuff.
I mean, the
it's too
dimensional,
much. It's too much.
so I mean, they want to put a, 4-family into the 3 and then use all the parking on the
No.
lot next to it. I mean, so it's not even on site. So I think,
Lot area per dwelling, 4,000.
I mean, so it looks,
They
yeah,
got
like, the
14,
parking's all on somebody
No
else's
way.
property. And then.
Yeah, I mean, if it's in common ownership, I think they can share the parking.
Yeah, but then
So-
I'm thinking of what parking picks up for number 438, unless they share it as well, and then they do 444, but with the dimensional requirements and everything else, I think it's a very busy site.
I'd make a motion to recommend denial.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's made in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Motion is denied. Okay. The next matter is for variance, and this is Edward and Alice Draper, on this is 208 Trotting Park Road. This is suburban single-family. To maintain an existing single-family with insufficient street frontage as required by Article 5, Section 5.1 of the zoning ordinance. And while I'm reading that one, I'm gonna read the next one, because it's right next door to it, which is number 206 Trotting Park Road, and that's requesting the same relief from the suburban single-family to maintain the existing single-family with insufficient street setback as required. This plan may look familiar to us because it did come in before for the house in between. And that came before us for a recommendation, and we looked at that, that was how they were trying to put in the proposed home that was 30 by 50. And I know, after consideration by the board, our recommendation was to deny that because of the fact, I think Mr. Fischett had concerns as well, as how you're creating 3 lots that don't have the requirements now, where you have 2, you're trying to put a third one in, now you're making 206 and 208 unconforming. I mean, you're going from the minimum lot frontage, from 75 feet down to 22. So you'd have all three lots wouldn't have what they're requesting, because they're all trying to come in off this, what are you gonna call it, the
Common right away.
common right-of-way? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, so, I mean, both of them are basically asking for the same relief so they can put the other house in the middle. And I
I
know
think it's another way of saying the same thing that we looked at earlier.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, and I know we voted no on the one in the middle, because our concerns were how it was gonna affect both the lots on either side, so.
Right.
I mean, consistently, I'm on the opinion that we should deny number 206 and 208 for the same reasons we used to deny proposed lot, which was lot 50. You know, because you're all coming this common way, and now you're all getting your reduced frontage and everything else. And if we voted for the other one for those reasons, I feel we should deny these two for the same reasons, 'cause unless something else has come up, or any board members have any other ideas to.
No, you're right. I'll make a motion for denial.
Second.
Can we take those collective, okay, on 208 and,
206 and 208.
okay, motion made to deny, and on both, and second on both, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, chair votes yes, to deny, okay. So, those matters, we had one other matter, which was on the agenda, which they took off, which was that cell tower up at Gorham Street, and those matters have been forwarded to them as our vote as we took last meeting. Moving along, and does any further general correspondence, from any board members, or any updates from Aaron from Division of Planning and Development?
The only other thing I have is the city building workshops that we've been working through with Goody Clancy are about ready to come to an end. The June 25th date is going to be the final culmination of all the input we received from the 4 neighborhoods. We're kind of sifting them together, or I should say Goody Clancy sifting them together into a single product, and those draft recommendations are going to be kind of made public during that meeting with some opportunity for more comment. And that will be the last meeting for those, and we should have a plan presented in the next month and a half or so. So that's June 25th, Senior Center at 6 o'clock.
And in July, we do have that, we have one meeting scheduled, and the date on that, I think, was what, July 20?
July 20.
20th, yeah, okay. So that's our next meeting scheduled for July 20th, okay. Any further comments from the board? If not, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Motion made and second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Good night, and thank you very much, everyone.